Hi guys, how you doing today? This is D. Durrell with D. Durrell Life Solutions. So we're going to get right into it. We're going to focus on should black businesses use sole proprietorships? And we're going to pretty much talk about sole proprietorships, why they are used as standard ways of identifying your business as it is functioning. I want to look at some of the pros, some of the cons, and you can make a determination of that. Okay? So let's look at sole proprietorships. Sole proprietorships in itself, to me, is very self-explanatory. You're basically the sole owner. There's one owner. Okay? One owner of the business owns 100%. Sole proprietorships to me is like the first form of any type of business. Okay? And it has its benefits. It has its purposes. Whenever, to me, you say that you're a sole proprietorship, it's pretty much linked into the fact of you creating or have a DBA, okay? Which is a way of you stating how you're going to do business. And you have your business name, you have your own name, doing business as whatever your company name is. Also, when we look at as a sole proprietorship is recognized by the IRS, in which you can select whether or not you're a corporation, you're an LLC, PLLC, S Corp, C Corp, or whatever. To me, a sole proprietorship, to me, in my perspective, is more beneficial for people who have a small business. Okay? And when I mean a small business, meaning that you are, it's good in the perspective of you're starting off, you don't have a lot of capital, but you're getting the business going. You have everything standard in regards to you maybe doing a DBA, showing that record in that particular county, that business name. You have that standard of business as far as recognition and on paper. You have a bank account. All of those things, they recognize sole proprietorship. To me, that's the quickest way to start the business. And it's looked at legitimate in regards to you covering all check marks to say you have a standard business. Now, the problem with a sole proprietorship is that you put yourself in more liabilities, personal liability, when you have a sole proprietorship as opposed to an LLC, in which you are basically allowing yourself to be out of the liability, and the liability is basically placed on the company itself. So it gives you some protection in which you're functioning under business. They just can't sue you for your own personal wealth and so forth, or property. They sue the business, and that to me is the main benefits if you were wanting to do an LLC. So I actually started off as a sole proprietorship. I've actually had two businesses that were listed as sole proprietorships. My first business was listed as a sole proprietorship, and it later became a PLLC. And to be honest with you, in looking at that, we were a sole proprietorship for about maybe, I would say, 3 months before we initially switched it, once we start getting a certain amount of continuity in regards to revenue coming in and so forth. And then we decided because of the type of business we're doing, we were better applying for an PLLC, in which it took about a month and a half or so to receive that document on record. So again, what I would consider the advantages is to me, I think it's the quickest way to just start the business, get it going, get it functional. Most people who start off as sole proprietorships, they may apply for a corporation license with the state and so forth. I know in the state of Texas to apply as an LLC or a PLLC, it costs like $300, and it may take 45 to 60 days to receive their document on record. You also have to list managing partners or managing personnel in the PLLC or an LLC. You don't necessarily have to do that for a sole proprietorship. You are the sole proprietor. You're the only one that operates the business. You own 100% of it. That's why it's called sole proprietor. Proprietorship means owner. You have it. It's in your possession. Sole means you. This means one. Okay? You and only you is not a partnership. Okay? That's a difference. So again, I have done that before. I created another particular company back in 2011 that was also listed as a sole proprietorship. And actually it still is a sole proprietorship because the revenue from that particular company it's actually at an amount that is healthy enough to be an LLC, but I don't see the liabilities that I have very few liabilities, period, with that particular behavioral group that I have. Now my main business, which is the name of my locations and so forth on hand, that has a lot more liabilities that are basically involved in the operation. Therefore, I am actually, to be honest with you, I'm actually an escort. I went from being a sole proprietorship to a PLLC. Now I'm an escort. An escort basically recognized by the IRS. So, that's basically my perspective on a sole proprietorship. I think a sole proprietorship is great for someone that's doing something small and steady. And if you seem like you want to do more things, interact with more people, it all to me depends on the level of liability. There are people who have it. So I know a guy that operates a drug and alcohol testing. He has two employees and himself. He's a sole proprietorship, and he's been a sole proprietorship for well over 15 years. And actually, when I talked to him about changing to under another business distinction, he actually said, "Nah, I like sole proprietorship. I don't want to deal with all that other stuff and so forth. I don't want to deal with the state, with so on." Because when you do register with the state, you do have certain taxes and things that you have to pay to the state and continue to register and so forth to keep that designation. Okay? So, again, if you have any questions, please subscribe and share. This is D. Durrell, Life Solutions.